Okay, we're going to be doing our lesson for 1.2. So you should be taking notes along with me. You title your notes 1.2 multi-step equations. So write this at the top of your notes. Now you need to turn in these notes into Google Classroom when I'm done, 1 page of notes to get credit. You should have your name, full name. You should have what period you're in. You should have the date. Okay, so take some good notes. On the back of this, you could use this for the next part of your classwork. Just like on the homework, we're going to number the problems, write the problem down. Now, these problems today are going to require 2 or more steps. Yesterday, the last lesson, it was just 1 step. This is the same idea, but just a little extra work. Now, in general, when you solve equations, you're trying to get x by itself, trying to solve for the variable, and you're trying to get rid of the things that are on the same side with it, so that eventually you get x by itself equals some number. Now, do we undo the 2 times first or the minus 13? It is possible you could do one or the other, but for sure the easiest way to do is to do reverse order of operations. Order of operations tells you how you should do math in order to get to simplify something, PEMDAS. In this case, because we're trying to undo things, we want to go backwards. So we want to we want to get rid of addition and subtraction first, even though that's usually the last thing you do. And you can kind of think of it as like if you put something together, say a computer, to get to the inside, you have to take off the last thing you put on there. So we're trying to undo things. So we're going to undo the minus 13 by adding 13. It's an inverse operation. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do the other. You have to balance it out. So we can pretty much do whatever we want to an equation as long as we do the same thing to the other side. All right, show the equal sign lining up. Next, we got to get rid of the multiplication by using division. Division, multiplication undo each other. They're inverses of each other. And we get our final answer. Box your answer. We also want to check it. And this is something that could be really helpful on your quiz on Friday. Because then you can know if you got the right answer or not. And if it says you're wrong, then you don't know what the right answer is, but at least you can check your work and see if you can find a little mistake. So the way we check it is we plug it back into the original, the very first equation. And I usually put it in parentheses when I substitute, because then I know that it's multiplication. If I didn't put parentheses, it'd look like 28, but it's 2 times 8, 16. So we got to follow order of operations the correct way now, forwards, right? PEMDAS, because we're actually simplifying these numbers. And then 16 minus 13 is 3, and 3 equals 3. So that means if you got something like 5 equals 10, then you know something's wrong. It could be in your check that you messed up, though. So don't erase your work. At least give me something. But now this one's a little more interesting. It has subtraction and it has division. So you might think, oh, we got to get rid of subtraction first. But because it's all inside this fraction, that's like grouping. That's parentheses. That's going to be the last thing we undo. So we actually have to undo this thing down here that's being done to all of this. It's like there's parentheses around this. So to get rid of divided by -2, you got to multiply by -2. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do the other. So now we have x minus 8, and we have -24. And now we're going to get rid of the minus 8. We're going to add 8. Now, when you add a positive and negative, it's like subtraction. Like in my head, I'm thinking, what's 28 minus 4? What's 28 minus 4? Or, I'm sorry, 24 minus 8. You'd say, well, that's 16. but it's going to be negative because you had more negatives, right? So I think it's just easier in my head to subtract a smaller number from a bigger number and then decide what the sign should be. So this is our answer. We're going to check our answer by plugging it back in to the original problem and then simplify both sides. Here, order of operations, we got to do parentheses first. So it's going to be negative 24, 16, and 8. They're both negative, so you add them and you get a negative. And negative 24 divided by negative 2 is positive 12. Negative divided by negative is positive. And we're good. Now, you guys have done this before in previous classes, so I would challenge you to go and try these problems on your own. Pause when after we write the problem down, pause the video and see if you can show the work. So I'm going to write this problem down, and you should also. And then go ahead and pause the video so you can finish writing down and try it on your own. And then unpause it and see if you did it right, see if you got the right answer, but also see if you showed the work that I would expect. Now in this problem, I think we have a couple options here. We could simplify it. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's two ways. We could say, well, let's undo this -6 from both sides first. And then let's divide by 5. And then let's subtract 1. One other option that you might consider is at the very beginning, we could have went ahead and distributed the multiplication. Let's see if we get the same answer. Right, so we distribute that to both of those, and then we could combine these like terms together. In general, I'm trying to combine like terms before we start solving. So I haven't started solving yet. Just simplify the left-hand side as much as I could. And then we can subtract 11. And we can divide by 5. And it's the same answer, right? So this one, I guess we could do it either of these ways. Now, let's check it. And when we check it, we're going to plug the answer in. And then I would probably go ahead and simplify. Right, 3 plus 1, order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication. And it works. The other option for checking it, and this is kind of going with that, I had two different ways of doing this, is instead of adding what was on the inside first, you could, distribute and then combine all these together. So there we go. All right, one more problem. I'm going to do a word problem. So write it down. The difference of 3 times a number and 4 is -19. So that's the problem. Now, this one's a word problem, but it's not so much of like a real world kind of word problem like that concert ticket one was from the last lesson. But we want to translate these words into symbols and into a math statement. So let's read it. In the order we read it, sometimes that makes a difference. Sometimes the difference. Now, difference is going to be subtraction, right? Of 3 times, well, times is going to be multiplication, right? 3 times a number. Now, when we see a number, that's where we need to create a letter. That's the thing we don't know. That's the thing we're looking for. So this is, X is pretty common. You don't have to use X, but this is times This is probably where we're going to put our x. Okay. And another number. Now, if it says the difference or the sum or the product or, okay, that symbol is usually going to go where that and is. It's between two things. Now, that's where the equal sign goes. So we're going to write this 3 times a number. That's 3x. And 4, the difference would be subtraction. And the order matters. 3 times x has to come first, and then 4 second, because we're subtracting is equals negative 19. So that's the first challenge. I think that's probably the hardest part of these. So make sure you interpret that all correctly. So now we're going to go and solve. Reverse order of operations. Get rid of addition and subtraction first. Now, like I said, negative 19 plus 4 is the same as like 4 minus 19, but I think that's harder in my head. I'm going to do 19 minus 4 is 15, and then I know it should be negative because I have more negatives. Divide by 3, both sides. Final answer is negative 5. Okay, for your classwork today, you're going to do monitoring progress out of your student dynamic ebook. Starting at page 12, you can do problems 1 through 10 all. They're at the bottoms of each page. You can try them. There's videos that you can click on to see how to do it if you get stuck. And then you will try your assignment after that. Check back in Google Classroom just to know where all the different steps are, the different places you're supposed to go. That's it.